Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul. In this video we're breaking down The Crown. The final part of Season 6 is now out and there's a lot to talk about in it. Throughout this video we're going to be going through it all and breaking down the real life stories behind each episode. Heavy spoilers ahead, so if you don't want it ruined, then I highly recommend that you royally do one and come back after you've seen the show. One request that you hit the thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe for videos like this every day. Out of the way, huge thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into The Crown. Okay, so part 1 saw both the lead up and aftermath of Diana's death, even with the time jump that still hangs heavily over part 2, with William struggling to deal with the grief of losing his mother. Several people write letters, and though his family try to comfort him, it's clear there's no way for him to easily get over it. Everyone asks him how he's feeling, but it's clear that in the end he's just isolated and alone. The only person who understands him is of course Harry, and we know how that would turn out due to recent events. Harry went off at his brother quite a lot in his autobiography Spare, with the show of course avoiding the complexities of their relationship in recent years. That means that we don't really see things with Meghan, but we do get a lot with Kate Middleton. Girls are throwing themselves at him, and their arrival at places is described like being a pop star showing up. However, in Kate he finds someone he can relate to, with it sort of being in a similar vein to Charles. The seasons focused purely on him, and Diana, of course, always had Camilla being off in the background. Even his parents didn't really support him marrying her, and William also kind of blames his dad for what happened with Diana. He thinks that Diana still loved him, and only went to France to get away from Camilla's birthday. So the finale kind of brings things full circle, and shows that there was a level of acceptance bringing it all together. The season ends in 2005 with his and Camilla's wedding, which is a more positive direction from what they could have done. Hey, guess what? Very excited to talk about today's sponsors, AG1. We've been using them for months now. I feel a hell of a lot better in myself, and yeah, I'm very excited to work with this brand and tell you about all the benefits. AG1's the daily health habit that's filled with vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, and probiotics. Since having the kids and sending them to nursery, they've been bringing back lots of diseases, so I've been looking for ways to boost my immune system, which is where AG1 come in. It's a simple supplement, and with just one scoop you get 75 vitamins and minerals that replenish your daily nutrients and leave you feeling better. Personally, I was also always drinking coffee all the time, like 3 cups a day at least, but this just gives me the energy that I need throughout the day. AG1 gives a comprehensive nutrition supplement that provides nutrients for your body, brain, and gut health. In your welcome kit, you'll get an AG1 pouch, a refillable canister, AG Vitamin D12, and K2. You'll also get the AG1 travel pack, shaker bottle, and a scoop as well. It's very simple, just 1 scoop in, give it a shake, and it also has a lovely vanilla and pineapple flavour, so it tastes great as well. I'm just so used to doing it now, it's become a daily health habit, but I look forward to how it makes me feel because it just starts off the day on the right foot. Just go to the link in the description, click that, and you're going to get a year's free supply of vitamin D3 and K2, plus 5 AG1 travel pouches with your first purchase. Huge thank you to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Just try them out, yeah, because it's going to make you feel more energized, you'll feel better in your body, and yeah, I definitely recommend that you check them out in the description. Thank you. My part 2 jumps back and forth a lot through time, and when we went to VE Day, I was seeing what direction they were going. Crown No Way Home is what we get later on, but this early story, it isn't so much that, and instead it involves VE Day, namely when Margaret and Elizabeth snuck out to the Ritz. Now according to the reports, this really happened, and was something the pair did at 19 and 14. Sneaking out in disguise, they were accompanied by guards, which is where the pair are said to have danced the night away. The Independent pointed out that King George said it had been Margaret's idea, and that he was happy for the pair as they hadn't really had much of a life yet. Sadly, Margaret passed away in 2002 after suffering a stroke and cardiac problems. The health issues are documented in episode A, along with one of her last public appearances. These happened at her mother's 101st birthday celebrations in August, her birthday in the same month, and lastly the 100th birthday of Princess Alice, which happened in December. Part 1 got criticised a lot for the use of quote-unquote ghosts in it, but I think the way they handle Anne's passing at the end of episode A, it works way better. Although they take a lot of liberty with the truth, The Crown as always has some aspects based in reality. Will's Mania deals with Will's feelings on his mother's death, whereas the 9th entry Hope Street is Operation Paget. That came in the wake of allegations that Dodi and Diana were murdered, which were levied by Mohammed Al Fayed. Now, if you live in the UK, or well, anywhere, and kept up with her death, then you'll probably be aware of the conspiracy theories that have since surrounded it. It was thought Philip had arranged for the murder because Diana was pregnant with Dodi's child. This was then apparently covered up by the powers that be, with no one ever being blamed specifically for their deaths. Now, to add some dramatic tension, the show has a report coming out ahead of the Queen's Jubilee, but if you lived through it, you'll probably remember that didn't happen. The inquiry didn't get set up until 2004, with it finally wrapping up in 2008. This found everything to be down to an accident, and that Diana wasn't also pregnant at the time. It stated that the main factors were that the driver Henry Paul had been drinking, and that neither of the deceased had been wearing a seatbelt. Lastly, they couldn't find evidence of a cover-up, and there's nothing ever really came from it. Still though, in the show paints out how the Jubilee had some controversy around it, with episode 7 diving heavily into that. There were peer reviews and polls on the royals, with the majority seeming like they were completely out of favour with them. However, as we know, the royals have remained something widely talked about, with the jubilees and coronations being big events. Still though, the Queen's fear that they might be ousted is represented in episode 6, when she has a nightmare Tony Blair's gonna be crowned the king. Killed me, like I was thinking, what the hell am I watching, when the new national anthem was Things Can Only Get Better. That was by the band Dream, which, it's clever, yeah, because she's having a dream. Now, dear me, now, not only does this show the Queen's a Dream fan, but it also shows she fears Blair's more popular. This was shown in real life in the polls too, with the royals being described as a big waste of money. Blair brings this up to the Queen during episode 6, with him listing off the pointless jobs that they just waste money on. It's things like a swan god, napkin folder, YouTuber, and film reviewer. Wait, what the hell is this? Anyway, this is a conversation that of course remains relevant, with the cost of living crisis making people continue to ask it. Still though, the royals themselves must worry too, with these polls being something that happened as well. The Independent noted that Labour carried out a private poll that showed Blair's popularity shot up 93% in the wake of Diana's death. However, we see how this wanes with the Women's Institute, with the Queen's speech there going down a storm. Blair's doesn't, which is something that happened in real life, with it being the start of his downfall. The crowd do a big slow clap, which is also something that got well documented. The organisers apparently had to tell them to stop doing it, but even then, it didn't go down well. In the House of Commons, he also got mocked for this too, and it's often thought to be something that signalled the beginning of the end. From this point, Blair was lambasted for being out of touch, and he ended up resigning in the wake of his actions in the Iraq War. Now, who was popular, or still is, I don't know, my headlines change every week, but who was popular-ish are William and Kate, with several of their meetings being shown throughout. That includes what's said to be the first time they saw each other, which involved Diana as well. Episode 7 shows them selling the big issue, but that situation is completely made up. Though William's being a vocal supporter of it, the pair didn't meet until they attended university. So Kate's sitting at home cutting photos out of him like some absolute nutcase, not sure it happened. But yeah, at least from what we know, they didn't meet there. Now, part 1 had Mohammed desperately trying to set up Dodi and Di, with that role here going to Kate's mother Carol. Played by Eve Best, you might recognise her from another show involving royalty. The Independent noted that Omid Scobie's book Endgame did claim Carol calculated ways to set the pair up, and this included everything along with the gap year. Now, the show is William and Kate both dating others, with Kate's man being called Rupert Finch. In real life, this Rupert did exist, but I couldn't find anyone called Lola for William. Whether that's the case or not, I'm not sure, but he did date someone called Olivia Hunt. Kate provides a way for him to escape the royal institution, and it sees him spending the Jubilee Day with her. This comes off the back of the death of the Queen Mother, which was known as Operation Taybridge. Elizabeth's death would become known as Operation London Bridge, with these code words being used to keep things quiet until the family were ready to make it public. On top of this, tempers begin to fray with Harry, with the media continuing to cause tension. It's often been said stories were sold on the other to play the popularity game, which are rumours that have circulated the family with every member. We also have the controversial uniform that Harry wore at the party, which caused some major stirs at the time. Lastly, he brings up how Harry killed his brother, which, hey, that's what you call subtext, guys. Now, the stuff with William and Kate's family is difficult to confirm, but he does end up leaving to join the celebration. William did attend the Jubilee in real life, with him appearing on the balcony when the family came out. The show has Elizabeth trying to dissuade him, with Kate also offering an easy escape. Still though, he stands there with her and shows that he wants to stay strong with his family. This would of course be reflected in how things end up with Harry, with it possibly being something that they're teasing here. Now, after the doom and gloom of the inquiry, digging up old wounds and making William write a statement, the finale's far more of a celebration of the crown and the Queen. Centering around Charles and Camilla as well, we see as the Queen considers passing the throne over as a wedding gift. Visited by Claire Foy and Olivia Colman, we get No Way Throne and the cameos that everyone's been waiting for. The pair remind her of her responsibilities, and in the end she crumples up the cue card in which she'd stand down. Doesn't even need it, the crowd are loving it, tears streaming down their faces with laughter, and the Queen is back. We are so back. Now all of this is completely made up, like obviously because of the whole Claire Foy showing up through a portal thing and doing the Avengers tune, but in reality the Queen didn't go to the civil ceremony. Nor did she ever write a cue card about stepping down or plan to give up the crown as a last-minute wedding gift. The Queen was someone who's said to have seen her life as being in service, and it's not thought that she would have ever given this up. There was always a thought as well that the Queen didn't really like Camilla either, but this was disputed as she did give them her blessing. The Queen would of course also continue her rule until her death during 2022. Now what happens next, we of course know from our own history, and we also know we probably won't be getting other seasons. Creator Peter Morgan actually intended for the 5th to be the last, with him even saying it was the perfect place to stop. However, he later changed his mind and said that they needed another to do with justice. Speaking to the Radio Times, he stated they'd end 20 years before modern day, as it would provide enough distance to truly understand the time. He also thought it was important to end in a more dignified way, rather than documenting all the further controversies that have since come. In an interview with Variety, he also talked about how the final episode changed in the wake of Queen Elizabeth's death. There were discussions they were going to close out with her passing, but after seeing how it impacted people in real life, they didn't feel like they could truly capture it. Thus, they instead tackle it by having the Queen's funeral planned with pipes playing Sleep Dearie Sleep. In the end, all there is the crown, which I think is the message that the ending brings. With it comes glorious purpose, and it's a sacrifice to rule, rather than being something that should be seen as selfish. Like Philip says, there will never be another like Elizabeth, and our longest reigning monarch leaves a long legacy. What happens with the royal family now, who knows, but there is the feeling that the party could be over. That again is something Philip says, but whether it turns out to be the case, we'll just have to see. We close out with Elizabeth imagining her coffin in past versions, and much like her sister, heading off in a moment that symbolises her death in the afterlife. This is very much symbolising her walking off into heaven, which I do feel is quite a powerful way to close out the show. Just that one final shot, it does stay with you, and though they could have fumbled it, I feel it works well. Now we've also had rumours of a spin-off show coming down the line, with that being something that The Sun has reported. The Radio Times has managed to debunk it, but Morgan has stated he does have an idea. However, he said that he wants to do other things first, but he will eventually focus on a prequel taking place before Elizabeth's reign. Still though, he's stuck by the fact that he wants some distance first, so it's unlikely we'll see this materialise for a while. Now as for this season, again, I think it kinda carried the dip that the first part had, with the season's peak sort of being around all the Diana stuff. Though I don't think this is bad by any means, it does have its ridiculous moments and can be a bit all over the place with some of the plotlines. There's the dream, and then bits where Olivia and Kate are like, your mum died and you're harassed by the press and scrutinised every moment of the day, but try being a woman, mate, because you haven't got it that bad. Again, seeing things like that, you know they didn't happen in real life, and it is a bit weird for those moments to play out and kind of break the immersion. I think that this feels like the most dramatised season in the show, with there being clear creative liberties being taken. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, but overall, I think fans will still continue to enjoy this. To me, it's kind of going through things we've explored before a lot, like popularity and whether the royals are still needed in society. Still though, these are always relevant themes, but there wasn't quite the dramatic ties and dynamism I feel have been in other seasons. I think this part of the season feels safe, and what you'd expect with it being a bit flat in comparison to the other ones that are released. I think that if you're in this deep though, that it is worth checking out, and obviously I would love to hear all your thoughts below. Please drop a like on the video, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button. You'll get early access to videos every week, and it goes such a long way to helping me and the team out. Now if you want something else to watch, you can see our breakdown of the first part, which will be linked on screen right now. That goes over all the real life things that happen in that, and how they compare to how they handle them in the show. If not, then huge thank you for sitting through the video, and with that out of the way, I've been your host Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.